Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. We're going to go into Prime Minister's questions in just a moment. So it has been brought to my attention that the two Davies, Dave McGuinness and David Mulligan, were arrested this morning and charged under the Terrorism Act for their support for the proscribed terrorist organisation Palestine Action. I will not be talking about it on this live stream, guys. I will touch on it tonight. Obviously, I have to be careful what I say on the matter. So, understandably so. So, I will not be discussing it, guys. I'm sorry. If you want me to speak about it, I'm not going to. But we're going to go straight to Prime Minister's questions and then the budget, guys.
Yeah. We now come to questions to the Prime Minister. Rachel Hopkins.
Question one, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, can I begin by confirming your remarks about Stephen, who's in the gallery, as I understand it. He's been an incredible servant and a good friend to the United Kingdom, and we wish him well in everything he does in the future. Mr. Speaker, today's budget will be a Labour budget with Labour values to deliver for the British people's priorities. Mr. Speaker, I know what it feels like to sit around the kitchen table worried about bills that can't be paid. That's why this budget is for families that I know today are equally worried about the cost of living. That's why we're rolling out free breakfast clubs, free childcare and free school meals. And today we'll be going further to deliver the change we're elected to bring about. Cutting NHS waiting lists, cutting the national debt and cutting the cost of living. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Rachel Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For years and years, rail fares have gone up and up, but this is set to change next year. Can the Prime Minister confirm that commuters in my constituency will see around £400 saving on their annual season ticket as a result of this government freezing rail fares? And can he confirm this is only possible because we have a Labour government?
Well, again, we still have the highest rail fares in Europe. We still have the highest rail fares in Europe.
Well, I can confirm next year we're freezing rail fares for the first time in 30 years, saving millions of commuters hundreds of pounds. And yes, that's only possible because we have a Labour government investing in Great British Railways and putting more money in the pockets of passengers. Contrast our approach with the leader of the opposition, who says the minimum wage is a burden, she thinks, and she wants to means test the state pension.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Creme.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I first pay tribute to the many farmers who have come to Westminster today to protest the shameful attack on them in last year's budget. I want them to know that Conservatives stand with them. Mr. Speaker?
Yeah. They arrest them, we stand with them.
Mr. Speaker, this has been the most chaotic lead-up to a budget in living memory, with resignations, hostile briefings, and...
Can I just say to a couple of you, if you don't want the budget, make your mind up now.
Nobody wants this budget, Mr. Speaker. With resignations, hostile briefings and leaks galore, even just in the last 10 minutes, an unprecedented leak of the OBR analysis. Mr. Speaker, these leaks have been so serious that even the former chief economist of the Bank of England has said, and I quote, that Labour's fiscal fandango is the single biggest reason why growth has flatlined. Does the Prime Minister agree with Andy Haldane, and does he have an explanation for this complete shambles?
Guys, as I said at the start of this live stream, look, I can't talk about it because I don't want to get in trouble, as you guys understand. So I understand how you feel. I have to be very careful talking about the subject. I touched on what I said this morning about it. If you guys want to continue to talk about it, feel free to do so. But I can't. I won't be discussing it live. What I might do is I might do a Discord after chat tonight, and we can have a discussion about it there. I'm not going to have it here on the live stream, guys. I can't, just for my well-being. Okay.
We all know the biggest shambles in living history, the Liz Truss budget. And what did she say at the time? Did she say, I don't agree, this must be wrong? No, she said, I think Liz Truss is 100% right. 100%. Not much room for flexibility. Not one thing was wrong with it, in her view. So we won't be taking lectures from her. Matters for the OBR. The Chancellor will set out the budget in just a few minutes' time.
Mr. Speaker, we're talking about the leaks. The Prime Minister doesn't seem to appreciate the impact of these budget leaks on the UK economy. Even the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister has said this morning that the leaks were unacceptable. So will the Prime Minister launch an investigation into the budget leaks and punish those responsible?
Good evening, Alison Keir, DJ Marty Moose, Stephen Banker, Dave McGuinness, Roger Devine, sorry, Aki's Mad, Ellie, and anybody else who's lurking in the chats there. Like I said, I'm not going to be talking about it. I've only been able to watch a couple of minutes of it. I've been very busy this morning, understandably so, guys. But yes, Dave McGuinness, if you're up for it, my friend, if you're available, we can have a chat tonight on the Discord community, whether it's your one or my one. We can have a good a discussion offline about it. If people want to have that, we can do that and talk about it there. As for these leaks, coming back to this topic here, guys, the leaks here, I hate to say this, guys, but Kemi's right. Like, this is like, we don't even know what's in the budget right now. Yeah, they're leaking stuff out left, right, and centre, trying to get a feel that maybe some positivity to the public, and the public aren't buying it. This is desperation. This is a desperation from Labour to try and pull voters back to them. Voters that they've already abandoned here. And that's what these leaks are. It's absolutely ridiculous that they've done so many leaks in a desperate attempt to try and bring some positivity. Desperate.
Mr. Speaker, it's literally about 25 minutes before the budget will be set out in all, where we'll take further decisions. The Chancellor will set it out, but thanks to the decisions she's already taken, we've got 5 million extra NHS appointments, waiting lists are coming down, mortgages are cheaper, we've expanded free school meals. That's 100,000 children lifted out of poverty, a moral mission for this government. Compare that to the record opposite any day of the week.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about the decisions she's already taken. If they were that great, we wouldn't have all those farmers outside protesting. He doesn't want to talk about leaks, but we can see that the chaos in Number 10 is having real-world consequences. Instead of focusing on the economy, they've been fighting like rats. Several journalists reported that Number 10 sources had briefed against the Health Secretary and other senior cabinet ministers. The Prime Minister then told us that these briefings did not come from Number 10. Will he...
That's fine, Dave McGuinness. I understand, my friend. If you want to talk after the budget, if you want to give me a call at all, you're more than welcome to do so, my friend. I'm just glad I just hope you and David Mulligan are all right. In all seriousness, I mean that. Thank you, Alison Keir, for the £2 super chat. Yep, free the two Davies and for Ollie, indeed. Thank you for the £2 super chat. I appreciate it.
Repeat on the floor of the House the claim that none of his advisers has briefed against members of the Cabinet.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've been really clear about this. No one in Number 10 has briefed against Cabinet ministers. And the Health Secretary is doing a fantastic job. He stood before the electorate just before the last election. He said we'd deliver 2 million extra appointments for the NHS in the first year of a Labour government. There he is. What did he do? Not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 million extra appointments for the NHS. They don't understand this language, Mr. Speaker, because they left everything absolutely broken.
They did leave everything absolutely broken, but you're not answering the question of why you're leaking so much out of this budget. And then we know why, because you're desperate to get any kind of good feelings coming from the British public about this budget, because we know overall it's not going to look very good.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister expects us to believe him. No one does. We all know.
Thank you, Peter, for the £2 super chat. I appreciate the super chats, guys. Honestly, I really do. Thank you guys so much. Free school meals does not lift children out of poverty. They are still in poverty, just slightly less hungry, But Yvonne Eric says. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That he did not have a serious leak inquiry. What he did, Mr. Speaker, was he asked Morgan McSweeney to investigate.
I support them too, Peter. I support them too. I honestly do. Thank you for the super chat. I just need to be careful what I say, guys, okay? I have to be careful what I say.
Morgan McSweeney, and then Morgan McSweeney discovered that Morgan McSweeney was innocent. All of this calls into question the Prime Minister's judgment. All of this calls into question the Prime Minister's judgment. We read this weekend that he wants the former Deputy Prime Minister back in his cabinet. He must have forgotten that she had to resign only a few months ago for tax evasion. When did the Prime Minister decide that lawbreakers can be lawmakers?
Mr. Speaker, while she's scrolling through Twitter, we've delivered rail fares are frozen, prescription charges frozen, the minimum wage boosted. We're focusing on the cost of living, the single most important thing for this country. She's focusing on tittle-tattle.
It's not tittle-tattle, Mr. Speaker. We all know that he's only talking about welcoming the Deputy Prime Minister back because he is desperate to shore up his crumbling leadership.
That is true.
But if he were to welcome her back, will he set a condition that she must pay back the £40,000 of property taxes she avoided, the same property taxes they're very happy to put on everyone else, and will she also return her £17,000 of severance pay?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the former Deputy Prime Minister is the biggest social mobility story this country has ever told. She started from humble beginnings and fought her way to the very top. I'm very proud of what she's achieved in politics. I'm very proud of everything she's done for this Labour government.
That sounds like a no, Mr. Speaker. I've never heard the Prime Minister speak so highly of people avoiding their taxes. But in summary, this just looks like a government that is a slow-motion car crash. His cabinet are briefing against each other, his MPs are planning for life after him, and the most chaotic run-up to a budget in recent memory is happening on his watch. Even the Chief Whip is telling MPs that he wants out. The truth is simple, Mr. Speaker. His MPs don't trust him, the markets don't trust him, and the public certainly don't trust him. When will he finally accept that the chaos starts and ends with him?
The most chaotic budget was the Liz Truss budget. It did huge damage to our country. We're still suffering from that damage. And what did she say about Liz Truss? She obviously does still think it. When asked, was Liz Truss right? 100% right, she said. The most chaotic, damaging budget there's ever been. And she sticks by it. I'm very interested to see her response to this budget if she thinks Liz Truss got it right. Mr. Speaker, what we're doing is focusing on cutting waiting lists, cutting the national debt, cutting the cost of living, renewing our country, a Labour budget with Labour values, delivering for the British people.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the moment, everyone is being bombarded with adverts and emails for Black Friday, encouraging them to spend money on so-called time-limited deals, leading to panic buying, increasing debt, buyer regret, and not to mention the impact on the planet, with delivery and returns of goods responsible for millions of tonnes of CO2 emissions. Does he agree with me that instead of rushing to buy online, people should look to their high streets to support local businesses and keep money in the local economy this Christmas?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've touched a bit on Black Friday on the Good Morning shows, but just to remind people, the Black Friday deals are not the same they used to be. They're a bit more of a sham now, guys, unfortunately. And the reason why they're a sham, and I know because I worked 15 years in Superdrug, for 15 years in the Superdrug, in the last couple of years during my time there, when the Black Friday deals were starting to become a phenomenon, they were actually the deals at that time. They were actually cheaper than what normal promotion deals are. But now that's changed. What's changed? Well, if you actually look at a lot of Black Friday deals, and this has actually been verified by a lot of money-saving experts as well, some of those deals are the exact same deals that you would get on a normal regular sale that they would do in some of these retailers. And not only that, some of them are actually cheaper in different parts of the year than they have been at Black Friday. So it's not the same as it used to be. It's not the same as it used to be. That's for sure. So please, if you are going shopping on Black Friday, do verify and check the price. Do verify and check the prices. Be careful, because you may be being misled because these aren't the cheapest deals all around this year. Okay, it's very important to be clear about that. It used to be when it initially started, and I can only speak for Superdrug because I used to work for Superdrug, and I knew what prices of things were. But it's changed since then, guys. Thank you, Viper Scott, for the £2 super chat. All hail DPR. Thank you so much indeed. And welcome to everyone who's new here. I hope you guys are all doing well. Let's keep going.
Well, I want to see our high streets thriving, and we encourage everyone to support local businesses this Christmas. Through our small business strategy, we've got £3 billion boost to help small businesses expand, and we've tackled the most significant reforms to tackle late payments, the most significant in 25 years, Mr. Speaker. And the Chancellor will have to say more about that in just a moment.
Sir Ed David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've just seen in the leaked OBR documents that taxes are going up to a historic record high. So will the Prime Minister explain why Labour is hiking people's taxes instead of fixing the £90 billion Brexit black hole in the public finances by growing our economy with a new, detailed, brilliant trade deal with our European partners?
This is a pointless question, and the reason why it's a pointless question because all Keir Starmer's going to do is you'll have to wait for the budget. This was a wasted question. He could have asked any other questions. There's no point asking about doing Prime Minister's questions, asking questions about the budget, because all they have to do is saying you have to wait for the budget. It's a wasted question and a waste of our time.
Well, he'll only have to wait a few minutes for the full details of the budget. But, Mr. Speaker, every week he comes here with the same problem. He always wants more spending, and he never wants to say how he's going to raise the money for it. The two things can't go together.
Sir Ed Davey.
Speaker, we want to grow the economy, not tax the economy. But if I can take him on to another issue, Mr. Speaker, I hope everyone in the House shares my alarm that a former leader of a political party in Wales has been found guilty of betraying our country and has now been sentenced to over 10 years in prison for his treachery. The Prime Minister said that Reform should hold an independent investigation, and he is right, but we both know that that's not going to happen. So given Reform won't, he must. So will he now launch a national investigation into Russian infiltration into our politics?
Yeah! He needs to do this. The longer he leaves this, the bigger the problem this could be. We know Russian influence is inside British politics. It's bad enough that we have enough influence from Americans and Israelis.
Well, he's right to highlight this very serious case, a long sentence for pro-Russian bribery in the Reform Party at the highest level. You would think a leader of a political party would want to get to the bottom of that and ask the question, how on earth did that happen in the Reform Party? And what other links are there between Reform and Russia? But no, the leader of Reform doesn't want to do it. Because, Mr. Speaker, we know he doesn't want to know the answer to the question because Reform is riddled with pro-Putin propaganda.
Do you want subtitles on, chat?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to put them on. I don't know if it'll... will it work? Yeah, it will work. If you guys want subtitles on, let me know.
Mr. Speaker, after 8 years of traffic chaos and increasingly creative traffic diversions, residents of Parkside and Marston Grange in my constituency are beginning to wonder whether the A513 at Beaconside is a permanent monument to the traffic cone. In the time that Staffordshire County Council and Taylor Wimpey have taken to complete one stretch of road, we've had 6 Prime Ministers, not to mention Notre Dame burned down and was rebuilt using medieval building techniques. So what can be done to hold developers and local authorities properly to account so that essential infrastructure is delivered on time with minimum disruption?
Well, Well, it's staggering that an important upgrade for drivers to improve their journeys has been delayed for 8 long years. And I understand the scheme is currently being held up by the Reform-led council, Sabri, who are proving as hopeless in local government as everybody anticipated. Mr Speaker, we've invested £24 billion in our roads, and I call on Staffordshire Council to end the delay, get on with the job and get this scheme started for her constituents.
Alison Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. University Hospitals Sussex currently have 350 people, well enough to go home, for occupying beds. That is the same number of beds as in Princess Royal Hospital in Haywards Heath in my constituency. The reason they can't go home is because there is no social care package for them to go to. This is terrible for them, puts strain on the trust and is ruinous to the taxpayer. Given there is no urgent plan to reform social care, what is the Prime Minister's plan to bring them home for Christmas?
Well, as she knows, we are reforming social care, and I've asked Baroness Casey to lead on that, and she's had the first of her cross-party meetings to build consensus, which is obviously what we need on this. As I've said out a number of times, the first phase will report in 2026, so we can reform as we go on. There will obviously be a phase after that. And I remind the House we've already boosted social care funding by £3.7 billion, record increases also to the carers allowance, and £500 million for the first ever fair pay agreement to properly recognise and reward carers.
Luke Kirkos.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Is the Prime Minister aware that because of the decision by Reform's Durham County Council to scrap support introduced by Labour in 2013, a typical working family in Stanley will be £170 worse off? How would the Prime Minister contrast the values of this Labour government with a Reform Party dividing our country and hitting working people in their pockets?
Well, I thank him for raising this. The more we see of Reform, the more we see their true colours. In this case, making people £170 worth off. But their true colours also in relation to the member for Clacton. His explanation, Mr Speaker, in recent days, in relation to the stories about what he may have said in the past, is unconvincing, to say the least. He says he never engaged with racism with intent. With intent. What does that mean? Didn't engage with racism with intent. I have no doubt that if a young Jewish student was hissed at to mimic the sound of a gas chamber, they would find it upsetting. He may want to forget that. They won't. He clearly remembers some of what happened. He should seek those people out and go and apologise to them.
I think he did very well, Keir Starmer, there. This is the kind of stuff you need to hammer Nigel Farage with, and especially out in the public here, reminding people, hey, this is the guy you're voting for. This is the kind of person you are supporting. Do you really, like, you may have your problems with Labour and the Conservatives, but do you really want to get behind this man from things that this man has said, this man has done?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Lewis, not his real name, is an Eastbourne boy with special educational needs who was left traumatised after his passenger assistant relentlessly and brutally restrained him on his home-to-school transport. It only became clear to Lewis's mum, who is in the gallery today, what happened on that day when he returned home visibly distressed and bruised. And that's because, shockingly, there is no statutory requirement to report incidents of physical restraint on school transport, nor national training standards. So will the Prime Minister address this loophole in his upcoming SEND reforms to ensure that SEND children in Eastbourne and beyond can travel to school with the safety and dignity that they deserve?
Well, can I say to him and to Lewis's mum, who's with us, that incidents like that should not be happening. I know that he's met, I think, with the Education Minister to discuss this. Every child should have tailored support, including on transport to school, and I can reassure him and Lewis's mum that that principle will be central to our reforms.
What an absolutely terrible thing to happen. And it actually reminds me, I'm sorry guys, I need to get this off my chest. I have been restrained when I was in EBD school or boys' school in my last period in school, because I had emotional behaviour difficulties, and there were times, and what they would do, teachers and whatnot, there were specialist teachers who would restrain you if you went too far. I was restrained 1 or 2 times, but I think in my experience, obviously, it was done in a way to keep me calm, to calm me down. But obviously, in this instance, this is absolutely horrific, and it does raise the question of why we are not talking about this. I also want to draw people's attention to Alistair Keir's link in the YouTube chat there, signing a petition to reform Russia's influence petition. If you guys please sign that, it would be greatly appreciated as well.
Little Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, Roman Osborne, a 10-year-old in my constituency, hand-delivered a letter to 10 Downing Street to tell the Prime Minister about an accident that he had outside his primary school of Trimley St Martin in February, which left him spending 3 days in hospital and many, many more months recovering. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister back my campaign, Safer at the Gates, and will he call on Tory-led Suffolk County Council to do the right thing and re-review the road and put the right safety measures in place outside Trimley St Martin and the other schools in my constituency?
Can I thank her for that and thank Roman for his letter, which I took time to read last night. And I wanted just to read a short sentence from it, from Roman. He said this: "This accident wouldn't have happened if there was a safe place to cross the road. I'm concerned for other children's safety, and I don't want another accident like mine to happen again to anyone else." Mr. Speaker, what an incredible young boy, aged just 10. Wow. I totally agree with him, and I say to Roman, this is what we're going to do. Roman, I've asked ministers to work with all the right people to look at his school and get a safe crossing in place. And the Roads Minister will be happy to meet my honourable friend to discuss the road safety strategy.
That's very good. Very good response from the Prime Minister on something on that there. This is the kind of thing where I appreciate Prime Minister's questions, where you have a very serious incident that occurred, and you have a Prime Minister taking the necessary action to do so here. I'm very brave of the boy of the letter, and to get it having read out, I think that's a very nice touch there. This is the kind of stuff that I do appreciate for Prime Minister's questions. Thank you, Viper Scott, for the £2 super chat. Just to get one less scene, this is going to be a longer show. That's why I set it to 10 super chats, my friend. But I don't expect it to get over. But if anyone wants to donate towards the super chat goal, that's great, and I will read it out depending on what it is. Okay, barring a live case that is taking place, which we discussed earlier, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning I met with farmers on Whitehall, and on Saturday farmers supplying milk to family-run White Farms, who have been making traditional cheddar cheese near Bruton for 160 years. They all told me, Mr. Speaker, the family farm tax as it stands will devastate their businesses. So if he really wants growth, will the Prime Minister listen to farmers, industry, the EFRA Select Committee, even his own MPs, and pause and rethink this damaging and regressive tax?
He does need to relook it. Initially, I was on board with it, but the longer this has gone on, the more it's frustrated me, because I really do mean this sincerely. You've got to talk to the people that is deeply affected, and clearly they've not been having very good discussions on this. This farm tax is not helping their image. They need to go back. I agree that I think it needs to pause, and they need to discuss with farmers, with unions, with businesses about what they can do instead. They do need to raise money in this area. I understand that, but they need to have a look at this again, because it feels like to me that this is not working, and it's not helping seeing all these farmers travelling down on tractors protesting. It's not a very good image for this government at all.
Mr. Speaker, we've invested a record £11.8 billion into sustainable farming this Parliament, and we set out a 25-year farming roadmap focused on increasing year-on-year productivity and profitability in farms. That is vitally important.
Yeah, just dodging the question there. Thank you, Peter, for the £2 super chat. One from the halfway line. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your support. And obviously, I understand not everybody could come to the Good Morning Show at 8 a.m. I understand that, but those who did, thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Craft.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the COVID inquiry reported that 23,000 deaths occurred in England in the first wave of the pandemic that could have been prevented due to the UK response being too little too late. These were not just 23,000 deaths, Mr. Speaker. These were 23,000 people who had family and friends who loved them, and valuable lives that were cut short due to an abysmal failure of leadership by Boris Johnson and his government. They were categorically failed by a Prime Minister who prevaricated, delayed and prioritised political expediency over
Get on with the question. I get the anger, but please get on with the question. We don't have all day.
making the tough decisions that could have averted tragedy. If the Prime Minister were to lead us through the next pandemic, will he value saving lives above all else?
Look, it's a wasted question, but I've said my piece on it about it, and I'm not going to make it here, guys. But you guys know how I feel about it all.
Well, she's right. The report is a sombre moment, and it's important to remember the scale of suffering and the scale of the loss of life, which is made clear in the testimonies of the families in the report, and to remember the incredible contribution of frontline workers and everyone who focused on protecting others.
Sorry to cut you off. Viper Scott, you don't need to justify yourself being there in the morning. Nobody has to justify themselves. Everyone's got lives. Everyone's got things to do. No one needs to justify themselves for not being at a live stream. Yeah, you guys will, you guys are giving your time to me. Yeah, so you don't need to, and nobody needs to justify themselves in any way, shape or form. I'll make that very, very clear.
Mr. Speaker, we're committed to learning the lessons needed from the COVID inquiry to protect and prepare us for the future. And the pandemic does still weigh heavily on our public finances and our NHS. That's why we've already conducted a pandemic exercise to test preparedness and agreed a historic global pandemic agreement to improve our ability to prevent global disease threats alongside our partners.
Adam Dance.
Mr. Speaker, I hope the Prime Minister will agree with me that the defence industry in Somerset is a key engine for growth, jobs and innovation. Leonardo in Yeovil is making a fantastic progress with the Proteus uncrewed helicopter, but the future of that project, thousands of jobs at the site in Yeovil, and the 320 million Leonardo contribute to local GDP is dependent on the new medium helicopter contract. Will the Prime Minister reassure my constituents that he supports the industry in Yeovil, and will his government finally get round to awarding this long overdue contract?
Well, can I pay tribute to those in Somerset and his constituency in the defence sector, which is hugely important to our country and our security. I can confirm we're continuing with the establishment procurement process for the new medium helicopter programme to deliver modern equipment for our armed forces. That's part of the biggest sustained boost to our defence since the Cold War, and I'm determined to see a defence dividend of investment in British jobs and apprentices, including in his constituency. Mr. Speaker, that builds on the £8 billion Typhoon deal that we've secured, the £4 billion maritime deal with Indonesia, and the £10 billion frigate deal with Norway.
Question, guys. Do we want to listen to the rest of the Prime Minister's questions, or do we want to go straight to the budget? Because it is gone half past now. Answer yes or no in both chats now, guys.
Blackenbridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I joined Wensfield Men walking and talking on International Men's Day, a fantastic group who are strengthening our community through good company and what Stephen calls a growing band of brothers. In an age of pressure, polarisation and endless phone scrolling, they bring men together to support one another. Will the Prime Minister join me in congratulating all involved and explain how the first ever men's health strategy will back similar grassroots initiatives?
Can I thank her? It is so important that men have the space and support from their peers to discuss their mental health. Can I thank Men Walking and Talking for the work that they do that makes such a difference. We were proud to launch our men's health strategy last week to get more men the support they need. And Mr. Speaker, I wanted to take a moment to thank my honourable friend for Cannock Chase for his honesty and bravery on International Men's Day. And I say again, men speaking so truthfully about their experiences is so powerful and inspires more to do the same. He's a credit to this House.
Great job. Thank you.
I wanted to listen to that answer there because I think International Men's Day is very, very important, guys.
I don't need any help. And just a moment ago, it seems the OBR analysis has also appeared online.
Office to distribute copies of the report. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. On a
I think this needs to be heard, guys.
point of order, Madam Deputy Speaker. This morning, we have seen an unprecedented leak of the OBR's Economic and Fiscal Outlook report before the budget. This report contains market-sensitive information. It is utterly outrageous that this has happened, and this leak may indeed constitute a criminal act. In Prime Minister's question...
Sorry, thank you, Five of Scott, for the last £2 super chat. Showing more love, Ollie. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sorry if I didn't see it earlier.
The Leader of the Opposition asked the Prime Minister about this leak, but he refused to answer her question. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, please can you advise this House what steps are at its disposal to force a leak inquiry into this matter? And would it be possible to ask the Table Office to distribute copies of the report given to the House, given that everybody outside of this House has already had the opportunity to read it?
He's absolutely right to do this, and the government should hang their heads in shame for the amount of leaks that they have done. Couldn't agree more with this, yeah? I may not like the Conservatives, but they're absolutely right to call this out and do this.
Order! This is not a point of order for the Chair. The Chancellor is about to make her budget statement, and I expect members and their constituents wish to hear from the Chancellor directly.
Why does she look like a schoolgirl? Sorry, guys. Maybe it's just me.
However, before I call the Chancellor to speak, I nonetheless wish to make a short statement. For a number of weeks, and yet again yesterday, there have been extensive briefings to the media on the government's fiscal policy and public finances. This disappointing trend in relation to budget briefings has been growing for a number of years under successive governments, but appears to have reached an unprecedented high. Weeks ago, we saw the Chancellor delivering a speech in Downing Street, setting the scene for the budget, as well as specific policy announcements being briefed out to the media in advance of today's financial statements. I don't need any help. And just a moment ago, it seems the OBR analysis has also appeared online. This all falls short of standards that the House expects. The premature disclosure of the contents of the budget has always been regarded as a supreme discourtesy to this House and to all the democratically elected members, not to mention to Mr. Speaker and to myself, the Chairman of Ways and Means. The government's own ministerial code cannot be clearer, as set out in paragraph 9.1. When Parliament is in session, the most important announcements of government policy should be made in the first instance to Parliament. Mr. Speaker has always upheld the rights of this House and its members to be treated with respect and to be the first to hear major government policy announcements on behalf of their constituents. As Chairman of Ways and Means, I have responsibility to oversee the House's consideration of the budget statement and the ensuing resolutions, which are described in Erskine May paragraph 36-33 as the most important business of Ways and Means in this House. I want honourable members on all sides of the House to have adequate opportunity to hold the Chancellor to account, rather than hear and read about new policies on a daily basis in the media. And like many, I also expected better. Before I call the Chancellor of the Exchequer, I remind honourable members that copies of the budget resolutions will be available to them from the Vote Office in members' lobby at the end of the Chancellor's statement and online. Shh. I also remind honourable members that interventions are not taken during the Chancellor's statement, nor during replies to the Leader of the Opposition or the Leader of the Liberal Democrats. I call the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Before she speaks, let me just say this, okay? While I appreciate, and I really do mean this from the House is a fucking joke. And I have to say that, guys, because they cannot do anything about this apart from stand up and cry foul over this. And this has been building up for years and years. And it all started from Boris bloody Johnson. He's the first politician who started undermining the House. And ever since then, everyone has followed suit since then. And no government, neither Conservative nor this Labour one, have decided to take action in order to strengthen the so-called democracy of the House. And because no one has taken any action, you have things like this happening, both from Labour and the Conservatives. If you generally give a damn about this House, which I generally don't think they do, but if they did, they would strengthen this. They would strengthen the laws in this, stopping these leaks. And those being held responsible should be held to some kind of an account, because all they can do is waffle. All the speaker can do is waffle, and that's it. That's all they can do is waffle. And we're about to hear a shit ton of waffling here, guys. So make sure you are strapped in, guys. It's going to be a long one.
Madam Deputy Speaker.
Chancellor.
Madam Deputy Speaker, it is my understanding that the Office of Budget Responsibility's Economic and Financial Outlook was released on their website before this statement. This is deeply disappointing and a serious error on their part. The Office for Budget Responsibility...
Oh, they're blaming the OBR. Oh, you're blaming the OBR. Okay.
...have already made a statement taking full responsibility for their breach. Madam Deputy Speaker, we are rebuilding our economy. Over the last 16 months, we have overhauled our planning system to get Britain building, forged new trade deals with the United States, India and the European Union, reformed our visa system to bring the brightest and the best to Britain. We changed our fiscal rules that we inherited from the Conservatives and raised public investment to its highest level in 4 decades. And in last year's budget, I raised taxes on business and the wealthiest to close the £22 billion black hole in the public finances left by the party opposites.
Don't you dare talk about bloody wealth taxes when you bloody well know you can take a lot more from them. I won't listen. They're going to be using the term wealth taxes a lot here to try and justify. See, we are taxing the wealthy. We are taxing the wealthy. The Greens just want to take it too far. Apparently 1%, guys, is too much for the wealthy.
And we use that money to fund the biggest ever settlement for our National Health Service. They were the fair and necessary choices. And we faced opposition to them, from opponents to planning reform, who will always demand that the future is built somewhere else, not in their backyard. Opponents to trade, who want to take us down the path of isolation and division. Opponents to investment, who believe that the only good thing a government can do is get out of the way. Opponents who insist that the only way to balance the books is to cut public spending. And opponents who say that we don't need to balance the books at all. But we made these choices for a reason. Because after 14 years of Conservative government, working people demanded and deserved change. Investments, not cuts to our public services. Stability for our public finances. The single most important factor in getting the cost of living down. And economic growth, the best means to improve wages, create jobs and support public services. That is what our plan, that is what this government and our Prime Minister are all about.
Look, I really, this is where I really wish that the Speaker would just tell the sides to just shut up so we can actually hear. Nobody wants to hear the vultures. They want to hear what she says. Yes, I know we want to skip 10 minutes in to hear the proper stuff. But, like, for crying out loud, Speaker, do get a grip of this.
Today's budget builds on the choices that we have made since July last year. To cut NHS waiting lists, to cut the cost of living, and to cut debt and borrowing. No doubt we will face opposition again, but I have yet to see a credible or a fairer alternative plan for working people.
Called the Green Party.
These are my choices, the right choices for a fairer, a stronger and more secure Britain.
Order. Far too much noise, and I expected so much better from you, Dr. Luke Evans. You're meant to be a leader in your community. Simmer down, Chancellor.
Well, at least she finally said something.
I'm happy for them to shout as much as they like, Madam Deputy Speaker, as long as they do it from the opposition benches where they can't cause any more damage. I said there would be no return to austerity, and I meant it. This budget will maintain investment in our economy and in our National Health Service. I said I would cut the cost of living, and I meant it. This budget will bring down inflation and provide immediate relief for families. I said I would cut debt and borrowing, and I meant it. Because of this budget, borrowing will fall as a share of GDP in every year of this forecast. Our net financial debt will be lower at the end of the forecast than it is today, and I will more than double the headroom against our stability rule to £21.7 billion, meeting our stability rule and meeting it a year early. These are my choices. Not austerity, not borrowing, not turning a blind eye to unfairness. My choices are a budget for fair taxes, strong public services and a stable economy. That is the Labour choice.
Yeah, so how's the economy been the last year since your last budget? Oh, that's right. We've been stagnated. Where's the growth? Where's the growth?
Growth is the engine that carries every one of our ambitions forward, through stability, investment and reform. The platform from which British ambition can finally get moving again. Because growth doesn't just appear out of thin air. It is built patiently and stubbornly.
You're right. Growth doesn't come out of thin air. But you know what actually helps growth? People. People who have money in their pockets. People who are able to work. People who are able to invest that money back into the economy. Buying the things that they need. Being able to have a decent, affordable life. But you know what the problem is, Chancellor? We have a lot of people who can't do that. Because a lot of them were fucked over 14 years of Conservatives. And I've said this before and I've said this again. I know that it is going to take a long... to fix what the Conservatives left is going to take time. I accept that. What I don't accept, and it's been more than a year and a half, is that your government have not done anything to improve the lives of ordinary people. That is the reality. The reality is that people are not just not better off. They're not feeling it. And because of those two things, that is why people don't have the confidence in your government. Thank you, Viper Swap, for the £2 super chat.
By people who take risks.
He says, one more less to the gold confetti this time of year. Time is near. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
By founders who bet their savings on an idea. By firms breaking into new markets, developing new technologies and creating new jobs and new opportunities. By the men and the women who work hard every day in all parts of our country. Our job is not to watch from the sidelines, but to partner with them, backing them every step of the way, to match private enterprise with public ambition.
The problem is you're allowing too much of the private to control everything. That's the problem.
I would like to thank my team of officials at the Treasury for their hard work in preparing this budget. In the spring, the Office of Budget Responsibility forecast that our economy would grow by 1% this year. I said then that Britain would defy the forecasts, and defy them we have. The OBR have upgraded Britain's growth for this year from 1% to 1.5%. Reaching
It's not the same as it was before Brexit, is it?
the same conclusions as the IMF, the OECD and the Bank of England, who have already upgraded their forecasts. Today, the OBR have published the result of their review of the supply side of the economy. They are clear that this is not about the last 14 months. It is about the previous 14 years. The legacy of Brexit and the pandemic, and the damaging decisions by the party opposite. Cutting public spending, leaving communities and entire regions behind, starving our economy of investment and weakening our public services.
You can keep bashing the Conservatives all you want, but the public are fed up of it. Like, yes, we know, 14 years of Conservatives. Yes, we know. We've heard this story before. You've been saying it ever since you come into power. Have you got something new to say? Yeah, 0.5%. Apparently that's massive game changing according to her.
As a result of their review, the OBR are reducing their expectations for productivity growth by 0.3 percentage points to 1% by the end of the forecast.
Rachel Reeves, the pirate, is a jolly Jack Tar. She knows who should walk the plank. It is the OBR. Very good, Doug. Very, very good. Great one there. Great one there. Had to read it out. Thank you so much for that poem. Good to see you, Doug. Hope you are doing well.
They say today, and I quote, real GDP is forecast to grow by 1.5% on average over the forecast due to lower underlying productivity growth. There is an impact on our public finances too. The OBR say that their productivity forecast will mean £16 billion less in tax receipts by 2030. These forecasts are the Tories' legacy, not Britain's destiny.
Order. It is very hard to hear the Chancellor over all the shouting. And Mr. Holmes, you promised me yesterday you were going to be on top behaviour in the first few minutes. Chancellor.
We beat the forecasts this year and we will beat them again. By boosting trade, not blocking it. By increasing investment, not cutting it. By championing innovation, not stifling it. By backing working people, not making them poorer. Brick by brick, we've been building our economy. Building roads, building homes, getting spades in the ground and cranes in the sky. Growth begins with the spark of an entrepreneur. Half of new jobs in Britain are created by scale-up businesses. And we want those jobs created here, not somewhere else. Our job is to make Britain the best place in the world to start up, to scale up and to stay.
What was that unemployment figure you said, Dave McGuinness? Is it 5%? High, over 5% of unemployment, wasn't it? I believe it was 5%, wasn't it, my friend? Lower productivity means higher unemployment and a shrinking market in place, he says.
So we're widening eligibility for our enterprise incentives, so scale-ups can attract the talent and the capital that they need. Expanding the enterprise management incentive so more companies can offer tax-relieved share options. Re-engineering our enterprise investment and venture capital trust schemes so they don't just back early-stage ideas, but stay with companies as they grow. Introducing UK listings relief, a 3-year exemption from stamp duty reserve tax for companies who choose to list here in Britain. And to continue this work, I am launching a call for evidence on how our tax system can better back entrepreneurs and a targeted review with founders and investors at the heart to make the UK an even more attractive place to grow your business. We are sending a simple message to the world. If you build here, Britain will back you. And our retail investment system should do the same. The UK has some of the lowest levels of retail investment in the G7. And that is not only bad for business, who need that investment to grow, it's bad for savers too. Someone who has invested £1,000 a year in an average stocks and shares ISA every year since 1999 would be £50,000 better off today if they'd put that same money into if they'd put the same money into a cash ISA. And so from April 2027, I will reform our ISA system, keeping the full £20,000 allowance while designating 8,000 of it exclusively for investment, with over 65s retaining the full cash allowance. And thanks to our changes to financial advice and guidance, banks will be able to guide savers to better choices for their hard-earned money. Over 50% of the ISA market, including Hargreaves Lansdown, HSBC, Lloyds, Vanguard and Barclays, have signed up to launch new online hubs to help people invest here in Britain. At this budget, consistent with the commitments in our corporate tax roadmap, I will retain our competitive corporation tax rate, the lowest in the G7, and retain our generous full expensing offer for business investments. I will also introduce a new 40% first-year allowance so that businesses can write off more of the cost of their investment up front, while reducing main rate writing down allowances in line with fiscal constraints. Private investment is the lifeblood of economic growth, but growth needs public investment too. When faced with challenges, previous chancellors have chosen to decrease, delay, or cancel capital spending. But low investment is the cause of our productivity problem, not the solution. So my choice is not cuts, not stagnation, but to maintain the additional £120 billion of investment that I provided at the spending review. In transport, to link our towns and our cities, energy infrastructure to power our businesses, and housing, so people can live near good jobs, paying decent wages and growing businesses. That is the Labour choice. I'm grateful to the Financial Secretary to the Treasury for his work in driving our growth agenda forward. As we allocate investment for the infrastructure that is the backbone of economic growth across our country, today I will commit investment for the Lower Thames Crossing. And we're continuing to drive investment in city-region transport, in the Midlands Rail Hub and the Transpennine route upgrade, along with our commitments to the Northern Growth Corridor, including Northern Powerhouse Rail. It is this Labour government that has overhauled our planning system, and I will today provide further funding to increase planning capacity through a new skills offer, as called for by the British Chamber of Commerce and the Confederation of British Industry. It is this Labour government that has invested in nuclear power, in Sizewell C and in Culham. We are taking forward our commitment to slash electricity prices for thousands of manufacturing businesses, as Make UK and many others have called for. And today I'm pleased to welcome John Finkelton's report, an ambitious plan to cut the red tape that has tied our nuclear industry in knots for decades. And within 3 months, we will set out our plan for delivering his recommendations. We are proud of our industrial heritage, and we are determined to build the industry of the future so that we buy, make and sell more here in Britain. That's why, as we increase defence spending, we are investing in Portsmouth, in Barrow and in Plymouth. And I'm pleased to be supporting Team Derby, an initiative to drive growth in one of our defence industry hubs. It's why we stepped in to save British Steel in Scunthorpe and invested in Sheffield Forgemasters. And it's why we've changed government procurement so we can buy British when it is crucial to our national security. For steel, for shipbuilding, and today for AI, driving innovation and building that great industry here in Britain. But it's not just what we invest that matters, it's how we invest. Putting money and power back in the hands of local and regional leaders. Today, we are devolving £13 billion of flexible funding for 7 mayors to invest in skills, business support and infrastructure. I'm extending the business rates retention pilots in the West of England, Liverpool City region and Cornwall until 2029. I'm providing £30 million for the Kernow Industrial Growth Fund for sectors like critical minerals and marine innovation. I am establishing the Leeds City Fund, a long-term agreement to retain business rates to fund local regeneration projects like the development of Leeds South Bank, and I am allocating £20 million for the new Peterborough Sports Quarter and £16 million for a science centre in Darlington from the Growth Mission Fund. The benefits of investment the benefits of investment and growth must be built and felt in every part of our United Kingdom. So we are providing an additional £370 million for the Northern Ireland Executive, £505 million for the Welsh Government, and £820 million for the Scottish Government over the spending review period through the Barnett formula. And I am making... Sorry, I didn't quite catch that from the SNP. Did they not?
Oh, shut up.
Perhaps, Madam Deputy Speaker, they didn't hear. £820 million for the Scottish Government over the spending review period because Anna Sawa asked us to. And I'm making targeted investments in our industrial strategy sectors across the UK. In Northern Ireland, I am providing £17 million to support businesses and strengthen the UK internal market, and backing advanced manufacturing through the Northern Ireland Enhanced Investment Zone. Wales will be the host for 2 AI growth zones, creating more than 8,000 jobs, supported by a £10 million investment in the semiconductors critical for that industry. And
that's good for Wales.
We are building the UK's first small modular nuclear reactors with Rolls-Royce at Wilfer in Anglesey. 2 Labour governments working together in Wales to deliver for the people of Wales.
And soon there'll only be one Labour government, and it'll be either a Reform or a Reform Plaid Cymru government in Wales.
And in Scotland, I'm committing over £14 million for low-carbon technologies in Grangemouth, £20 million to renew infrastructure at Inch Green in Inverclyde, and £20 million to redevelop Kirkcaldy Town Centre and Seafront, with construction starting next year. And that's on top of the UK's biggest ever warship export deal with the Norwegian government to build frigates in Glasgow, supporting 4,000 jobs. Investment opposed by the SNP, jobs opposed by the SNP, defence opposed by the SNP, but secured by this Labour government.
I don't think I ever recall the SNP saying that they were against jobs here. I don't recall. Maybe my Scottish friends in the chat can. Guys, have the SNP ever said they're against jobs? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever heard that. Sounds like a bit of waffle here from the Chancellor there.
A growing economy needs strong foundations of economic stability, with borrowing, inflation down and investment up. That is good for business, and it is good for working people, so they have more money in their pockets. Economic stability, safeguarded by ironclad fiscal rules, is our best defence against rising prices and the best way to improve living standards. We've all seen the alternative. 3 years ago, in their clamour to cut taxes for the richest, the Tories under Liz Truss crashed the economy and sent mortgage rates spiralling and brought pensions to the brink.
If there's one thing I want people to remember is that Liz Truss was the worst Prime Minister we ever had in our history. and it was one that was never elected by the people of the UK.
They're being so loud, Madam Deputy Speaker, and yet I can't even hear them now. Now, I know that the leader of the Green Party is a keen hypnotherapist, and he believes that he can achieve remarkable things using only the power of his mind.
You're so deluded. Go on, you can say whatever you want about the Greens here going forward. You're not deterring the voters. The youngsters have no faith in your party. So go ahead, say whatever you want to say, get it off your chest, just like mockery of the SNPs, yeah? Because when it comes to the polling, yeah, when it comes to really matters, when it comes to people, yeah, the voters will speak for themselves. You can smile and you can talk all you want about, yeah, what you're doing, Rachel, but the youngsters of the future, their futures are not with your party. They're looking at the Greens right now.
Unfortunately, the only things getting bigger under his approach would be the deficit and the rate of inflation.
Don't you mean the increase in members that are joining the party? Join the Green Party.
And for all the damage that the Conservative cuts did to our schools and our hospitals, they also doubled the national debt. Our net financial debt this year will be £2.6 trillion, 83% of GDP, meaning that today, 1 in every £10 that government spends is on debt interest. Not on paying down that debt, but just on paying the interest on the debt that we inherited from the Conservatives. My fiscal rules will get borrowing down while supporting investment. The stability rule, that day-to-day expenditure must be met through tax receipts, and the investment rule, which allows me to increase investment whilst getting debt on a downward path. Those fiscal rules are non-negotiable. I met them at the budget last year, I met them in the spring, and I have met them today. While the current budget balance is in deficit by £28.8 billion in 26-27 and £4.6 billion in 27-28, it moves into a surplus of £3.9 billion in 28-29, £21.7 billion in 29-30, and £24.6 billion in 2030-31. More than doubling our headroom against the stability rule and meeting that rule a year early too. And our net financial debt is 83.3% in 26-27, 83.6% in 27-28, 83.7% in 28-29, falling to 83.0% in 29-30 and 82.2% in 2030-31. Madam Deputy Speaker, I said we would cut the debt, and we are, with debt down by the end of the forecast. And going forwards, to support our commitment to a single fiscal event and further strengthen our economic stability, I will follow the recommendations of the International Monetary Fund by assessing the fiscal rules just once a year at the budget. Despite the challenges we face on productivity, the path of our deficit reduction remains broadly the same as in spring. Public sector net borrowing is due to be £112.1 billion, or 3.5% of GDP in 26-27, 3% in 27-28, 2.6% in 28-29, 1.9% in 29-30, and 1.9% in 2030-31, ending at £67.2 billion, translating into an increase in the net cash requirement next year of £4.2 billion, taking the total to £133.3 billion. According to the IMF, we are due to reduce borrowing more over the rest of this Parliament than any other G7 economy. The Conservatives crashed the economy, we are protecting it. The Conservatives lost control of debt, we are getting debt down. The Conservatives let inflation and interest rates go through the roof. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, since Labour took office, the Bank of England have cut interest rates 5 times. I've made my choices. Not reckless borrowing, not dangerous cuts, but stability for our economy, security for our public finances, and security for family finances too. Those are the Labour choices.
Yeah, a lot of it is a lot of waffle. Yeah, it is. Thank you, Peter, for this £2 super chat. Just to keep going. Thank you, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. 2 more super chats for today's live streams goals. Thank you for those who have supported. Fantasy figures, says Dave McGuinness. Yeah, I noticed that the Plaid Cymru wasn't mentioned there. Maybe they want them. Maybe it's because they want them to do well in Wales. Maybe because they know that the wrecking ball is coming for them at the Welsh Labour, the Welsh elections coming up next year.
Madam Deputy Speaker, Tory austerity left classrooms crumbling and waiting lists sky high, weakened our productivity and choked our economic growth. And now they propose a further £47 billion of cuts to our public services. Well, that is equivalent to cutting every police officer in our country twice over. And then there is Reform, who promise more than £100 billion of cuts, with no details of where those cuts will come from or who will pay for them. A recipe for devastating damage to our public services. People voted for Labour because they wanted roads that aren't full of potholes. They want police on our streets, and they want an NHS that is there when they need it.
People voted for Labour because they were tired of the Conservatives. People voted for Labour because they were desperate to see the Conservatives out. People did not vote for Labour because they wanted a Labour government. I cannot stress this enough. You don't have the same support that you did when you first come in. It's not rocket science. It's not very hard to figure this out. But we know that she's only waffling just to make it sound like she's tough.
And we're delivering that. Waiting lists down by 230,000. And not just the 2 million additional appointments we promised, but an additional 5.2 million appointments already delivered since the general election. I joined the Labour Party almost 30 years ago because I could see that the Conservative government that I grew up under didn't care much about schools like mine. Textbooks were rationed. I know that many of you weren't at schools like mine.
There is far too much noise, far too much excitement. People need to calm down a little. Chancellor.
They don't want to hear what the Tories did to schools like mine, but I will tell them. Textbooks rationed, libraries closed, kids herded into porter cabins in the playground, and I came into politics to change that. The money that I allocated at the spending review will fix the crumbling classrooms that the Conservatives left behind and build the schools that they promised but never delivered.
I'm all for more schools. I'm all for more investment in our state schools. I really, really am. I cannot stress this enough. It is so important. Education is the key to any society. Thank you so much, Viper Scott, for the £2 super chat. Just one more towards the goal. Thank you to those who have given so far. I really, really appreciate it.
And today, thanks to representations from my honourable friends, the members for Wolverhampton North East and Leeds South West and Morley, I will provide £5 million for libraries in secondary schools, building on the £10 million commitment to ensure that every primary school has a school library within this Parliament. And thanks to representations from my honourable friends, the members for Bournemouth East and from Luton North, I am providing £18 million to improve and upgrade playgrounds across England. Madam Deputy Speaker, let there be no doubt that this is a government that is on the side of our kids and who will back their potential. I will not allow the legacies of Conservative neglect to stain our society. Last year, I made changes to the Mine Workers Pension Scheme to ensure that its members receive the fair pensions that they are owed.
Thank you, as Viper Scott, for the last £2 super chat to reach today's super chat goal. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for all your support. Really appreciate it. We'll celebrate at the end of the budget because I don't want to keep people waiting.
This year, with thanks to the Minister for Pensions for all his work in this subject, I can go further. I have heard representations from Labour Coalfield MPs, including my honourable friends, the members for Bassetlaw, Blyth and Ashington, Barnsley South, Mansfield and Llanelli. And today I can announce that I will transfer the Investment Reserve Fund of the British Coal Staff Superannuation Scheme to its members. So that the men and the women who worked in our coal industry get a fair deal in their retirement too. And more. Having heard representations from my honourable friends, the members for Banbury and the member for Edinburgh South West, I will index for inflation on pensions accrued before 1997 in the Pension Protection Fund and the Financial Assurance Scheme, so that people whose pension schemes became insolvent, no fault of their own, no longer lose out as the result of inflation. Last year, I also provided funding to compensate the victims of the infected blood scandal, after the previous government failed to budget for the costs of compensation.
Absolutely.
This year, I have listened to representations from my honourable friend, the member for Eltham and Chislehurst, and my honourable friend, the member for Edinburgh South West. And I'd like to thank the Minister for Employment for her representations over many years on this subject. As a result, I will exempt all payments from the infected blood scheme from inheritance tax, regardless of the circumstances in which those payments are passed down. Madam Deputy Speaker, that is how we should be spending taxpayers' money, on dealing with injustices and building strong public services. Not on
Waspy women? Waspy women, anyone? Waspy women? Answers on a postcard, please. Where's the waspy women?
Waste and inefficiency. At the spending review, I set an ambitious target of £14 billion of efficiencies per year by 2029, and I am grateful to the Chief Secretary to the Treasury for driving that work forward, realising savings through AI and automation, and by scrapping NHS England and reducing back office staff by 18,000. At this budget, I will find a further £4.9 billion of efficiencies by 2031.
You mean cuts?
Getting rid of police and crime commissioners, cutting the cost of politics and local government, and selling government assets that we no longer have any use for. These savings will be required across government, but for our National Health Service, I will reinvest all of these savings back into the care that people rely on. More nurses, more GPs, more appointments. Restoring the services that faltered under years of Conservative decline and investing in the future of our National Health Service. And today I am announcing £300 million of investment in technology to improve patient service and 250 new neighbourhood health centres. Expanding more services into communities so that people can receive treatment outside of hospitals and get better, faster care where they live.
They've said time and time again about pushing it out of hospitals and into health hubs here.
Over 100 of these will be delivered by 2030, including in Birmingham, Truro and Southall. The Labour Party founded our National Health Service, and we will renew our National Health Service. I will take the same approach for defence spending that I take to NHS spending, reinvesting savings back into our national security. In our age of insecurity, Britain will continue to stand with our allies, working in collaboration to secure a sustainable ceasefire for Ukraine, and maintaining our commitment to NATO, with the UK set to spend 2.6% of GDP on defence by April 2027. Madam Deputy Speaker, the public rightly expects that we stamp out fraud, error and waste, and put that money to good use in our schools and our hospitals and other frontline services. My right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, has already announced that she will claw back excess profits from the use of hotels to house asylum seekers, as we phase out the use of those hotels entirely.
And yet it's funny how there's reports that actually, if you actually put some of the asylum seekers in different places, in certain barracks and whatnot, it actually costs them more than it does than putting them in hotels. It's funny that she hasn't mentioned that, guys. There have been reports of them. I don't know how accurate they are, but there have been those reports out there.
And we will consult on reforms to indefinite leave to remain and access to taxpayer-funded benefits. The introduction of digital ID will break the link between illegal migration and illegal working.
No, it will not. It will not do anything. It's not going to change anything. It's just going to turn people going onto the black market, and it's just going to be cash in hand. Your digital ID thing is not going to change a bloody thing.
And the HMRC and the Fair Work Agency will crack down on illicit businesses that blight our high streets and undercut illegitimate firms, enforcing the minimum wage, investigating dodgy businesses, and increasing scrutiny of the gig economy, as well as tracking down fraudulent business owners who vanish without paying their taxes. And I'd like to thank my honourable friends, the members for Great Grimsby and Cleethorpes, Lee and Atherton, and Kensington and Bayswater for their representations on this subject. And I'll take further steps to prevent and track down unpaid tax, which will together, these reforms will raise nearly £10 billion a year by 2030, including through new powers for HMRC to pursue the promoters of tax avoidance schemes. I am building on our successful use of targeted checks on welfare claims to root out fraud and error and prevent public money being paid to people who are not entitled to it. And I would like to thank Tom Hayhoe, the COVID Corruption Commissioner, for his work in helping to chase down nearly £400 million from dodgy pandemic spending and contracts. Tory contracts handed out by Tory ministers to Tory peers and Tory friends. Well, that money belongs in our schools and in our hospitals.
Order. It is so noisy now, we can barely hear the Chancellor. Everybody needs to calm down. Chancellor.
Well, I wouldn't want any honourable member to miss this. So we are chasing down that money, and we've got almost £400 million back from dodgy pandemic spending and contracts. Tory contracts handed out by Tory ministers to Tory peers and Tory donors. Well,
they deserve that. Sorry, they absolutely bloody deserve that. Never forget this, guys. Never forget this. These fuckers made money off the British taxpayer while we suffered and died during the pandemic. Never, never, never forget that.
That money belongs in our schools and in our hospitals, and we are getting that money back.
They're not getting it all back, but at least they're getting some of it back. And that I will commend, at least.
And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, we are ramping up sanctions on Russia, and we are freezing known Russian assets. But let me be clear, I don't actually mean the honourable member for Clacton. Under the Conservatives.
Order. You don't need commentary from the backbenches, and Mr. Dewhurst, you are so loud. It's remarkable how far your voice carries. Chancellor.
Under the Conservatives, the cost of our welfare system increased by nearly 1 percentage point of GDP, equivalent to £88 billion in just 5 years. The broken welfare system that we inherited wrote off millions of people as too sick to work, and we will reform that system so that it is a system that does not count the cost of failure, but one that protects people who cannot work and empowers those who can. We have brought back face-to-face assessments for disability benefits. Those are the face-to-face assessments that the Shadow Chancellor got rid of when he was Work and Pension Secretary. And our changes to universal credit will get 15,000 people back into work, a figure confirmed today. The former Health Secretary, Alan Milburn, will review the causes of rising youth inactivity and we are already taking action. I'm grateful to the Federation of Small Businesses and Small Business Britain for their representations on apprenticeships. And today I am announcing funding to make the training for under 25 apprenticeships completely free for small and medium-sized enterprises.
Thank you, Cymru, for that. Face-to-face assessments aren't feasible for many disabled people through. Yeah, not everybody, like... Video calls make more logical sense. Yeah.
Funding our new youth guarantee, providing £820 million over the next 3 years to give young people who are let down by the Conservatives the support and the opportunity that they deserve. Guaranteeing every young person a place in college, an apprenticeship or personalised job support. And after 18 months, 18 to 21-year-olds will be offered paid work, not benefits. The Motability Scheme was set up to protect the most vulnerable, not to subsidise the lease on a Mercedes-Benz. And so I am making reforms that will reduce generous taxpayer subsidies, and Motability have confirmed that they will remove luxury vehicles from their scheme, getting the scheme back to its original purpose of offering cost-effective leases to disabled people. And taxpayers' money should not be spent on pensions for people abroad, who only lived here for a couple of years and may never even have paid a penny in tax. The Conservatives allowed thousands of people living abroad to buy their way into the state pension for as little as £3.50 a week, debasing the purpose of our pension system. And so I will abolish access to Class 2 voluntary national insurance contributions for people living abroad, increasing the time that someone has to live or work in Britain to 10 years and increasing the contributions that they must pay. These reforms improve our welfare system. They support our young people, protect those who need it most, and put an end to Conservative waste and unfairness. Madam Deputy Speaker, to break the cycle of austerity, we need a fair and a sustainable tax system, one that generates revenues to fund the public services that we all use.
So let's align capital gains tax with income tax. Let's do that, Chancellor. You're going to do that, right? You're going to make the rich pay their fair share of, right?
And supports investment to grow our economy. That does mean that today I am asking everyone to make a contribution.
We looked at the numbers yesterday, Akismad. It's we looked at numbers in one there. It is a small percentage. There are some who are using luxury cars. It is a small percentage.
The previous Conservative government froze personal tax thresholds from 2021 to 2028. And today I will maintain all income tax and equivalent national insurance thresholds at their current level for a further 3 years from 2028. While ensuring that people...
The noise is far too high. Chancellor.
You could be like the Speaker and just tell them to keep it down.
The Right Honourable Lady supported these freezes when her party made them. She might want to forget about it, but the British people never will. At the same time, we are ensuring...
Cymru, we discussed this yesterday. We're talking about luxury cars. I'm not talking about, I'm going to say the same thing I said yesterday with regards, to this, As long as a person is able to get into their car, able to get to A to B or more, and get out of their car, that is the main thing. That's the main thing. That is the priority. As long as they are able to get a car that can do that, that's the main thing.
That people only in receipt of the basic or new state pension do not have to pay small amounts of tax through simple assessment from April 2027. I will also keep the Plan 2 student loan repayments threshold at its 2026-27 level for 3 years. Madam Deputy Speaker, I know that...
tell me it's propaganda. Or you can leave the chat.
Maintaining these thresholds is a decision that will affect working people. I said that last year, and I won't pretend otherwise now. Madam Deputy Speaker, I am asking everyone to make a contribution, but I can keep that contribution as low as possible because I will make further reforms.
I'll encourage you, Cymru, go watch yesterday's live stream. I'm not going through it with you now.
To our tax system today to make it fairer and to ensure that the wealthiest contribute the most. The Conservatives knew that our tax system didn't work. Time and time again, they ducked the necessary reforms, leaving a system unfit for a changing economy, with unfairness that they refused to address. Currently, a landlord with an income of £25,000 will pay nearly £1,200 less in tax than their tenants with the same salary, because no national insurance is charged on property, dividend or savings income. It's not fair that the tax system treats different types of income so differently.
Cymru doesn't have a brain, because if he had a brain, we're talking about luxury cars. We're not talking about taking away the cars for disability people. You're not listening to what she said. You weren't listening to what I said yesterday. If you listen to what I said, which you aren't doing, I said we're talking about luxury cars. We're not talking about taking away the car that gets someone into a car that can go to A to B. We're not talking about that. That's what you're implying there. It's not propaganda. We looked at this yesterday. It's not rocket science. And yes, I'm timing you out because you're not listening to what I said. I said what I said yesterday and I said what I said now.
And so I will increase the basic and higher rate of tax on property, savings and dividend income by 2%.
And if anyone puts words in my mouth, they will get timed out too.
Percentage points. And the additional rate of tax on property and savings income by 2 percentage points. Even after these reforms, 90% of taxpayers will still pay no tax at all on their savings. As well as narrowing the gap between the tax on income from assets and income from work, I also believe that a fair society is one where the wealthiest pay their fair share. The reforms I made last year will raise an additional £8 billion a year by 2020-30 from wealth. I increased taxes last year on private equity, private schools and private jets. I abolished the non-dom tax regime. And this year, I will make 2 changes to cap trust charges and prevent avoidance. I reformed inheritance tax on agricultural and business assets. And this year...
That one did not go down well, to be fair.
And this year, I am aligning those reforms with wider inheritance tax rules by...
Let me make something very clear here. Like, I am not a perfect individual, and no, I don't know everything about disabilities. But what I will say is that I read what I look at, and I take in what I say. Then I want to make it clear there are some things that come into the budget which are good, that may be beneficial, and there are lots where there are negative. I'm not going to propaganda here. Yeah, you want to talk about propaganda? Let me make something here. I'm not going to sit here propaganda saying everything that this Labour government is saying is bad. Yeah, I'm not going to say that, guys. I'm going to be straight. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to give my honest assessment. I'm not going to bollocks you. I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm going to tell you straight what I think. If you don't like it, that's fine. Yeah? If you don't like it, that's fine. You can go somewhere else. But I'm never going to bullshit you about my feelings and about a policy that I hear about. Okay? I may not have the full details about everything, but I'm not going to bollocks you. I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not going to propaganda a certain side just for someone's satisfaction here, yeah? I'm going to talk to you straight, yeah, as an adult about a certain thing. Yeah, I don't know a lot about disabilities and about the struggles of what it is for a disabled person. But we're talking about, and we read it yesterday, they're talking about a few luxury cars. It's not rocket science to figure out that they're not talking about taking away. It's not like they're saying, like, I don't know how obvious I need to make this here. It's not like they're saying to you, I'm sorry, disabled people, we're taking any opportunities of you getting in a car ever again. That's not what they're saying. That's literally not what they're saying. They're not saying you cannot have a car ever again, because that's not what they're saying. It's really not rocket science, okay? They're talking about luxury cars. I have to stress the term luxury. What part of that do you not understand? Okay? I said the same thing as I said before. Like, as the most important thing is that as long as a person is able to get into a car, get into the car, be able to get to where they need to go to, and out, okay, and safely, and all that stuff, which is the most important thing, doesn't matter what fucking car it is, as long as they are able to get in and out. Who gives a shit if it's luxury or not? As long as they are able to use it, that is the main priority. What part of that do you not understand? It's not that hard to understand from my perspective on that. Yeah? I really cannot stress that enough. Yes, I am fully aware you've made it clear in the past about the costs. Yeah? But this is my point. My point is you don't need a super luxury pampered car to get to A to B. And I'm sorry, but I agree with the Chancellor on this. I'm sorry if you don't like that. And I'm not implying, as someone in the chat said yesterday, that people should be in old bangers. No, because I didn't say that, and I never mentioned that. What I'm saying is that people should be able to get into a car and get to where they need to go to. That is my point here. A lot of taxis are made by BMWs.
By allowing the transfer of the 100% relief allowance between spouses, balancing the taxation.
I'm trying to be as modest and fair as I can, guys. But what I won't accept is somebody coming in my chat claiming that I'm propaganding something. I'm not accepting that. I'm going to be straight with you, and if you don't like me being straight, you can go somewhere else.
Of these valuable assets with the realities of family life. In this budget, I will take further steps to deal with a long-standing source of wealth inequality in our country.
Okay, what are you doing?
A Band D home in Darlington or Blackpool pays just under £2,400 in council tax, nearly £300 more than a £10 million mansion in Mayfair. And so,
but we also, I get that point, DJ Mardy, but we also don't know Cymru's full situation here. And every car is different. But what I'm trying to say is, why can we not do this with non-luxury cars? Why is this so difficult to do in non-luxury cars? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, here's my question, yeah, on this subject, yeah. What are we doing to make sure that the type of cars that people can get in and out are not luxury, are not expensive, are beneficial to the disability people? That's the main thing.
So, from 2028, I am introducing the high-value council tax surcharge in England. An annual £2,500 charge for properties worth more than £2 million, rising to £7,500 for properties worth more than £5 million. This will be collected alongside council tax, levied on owners, and we will consult on options for support or deferral. This new surcharge will raise over £400 million by 2031 and will be charged on less than the top 1% of properties. Madam Deputy Speaker, reliefs in our tax system cost the taxpayer billions of pounds a year, but many of them no longer serve their original purpose. The government rightly provides generous tax relief for people paying into a pension, relieving income tax on all contributions and on the investment itself, as well as national insurance relief on employer contributions, at a cost of over £70 billion a year to the Exchequer. This budget makes no changes to those reliefs or to the tax-free lump sum. But salary sacrifice for pensions, which was intended to be a small part of our pension system, is forecast to almost treble in cost to other taxpayers, from £2.8 billion in 2017 to £8 billion by 2030, with the greatest benefit going to the highest earners, or to those in the financial services sector putting their bonuses into pensions tax-free, while those on the minimum wage or those whose employers don't offer salary sacrifice don't benefit at all. That is not sustainable for our public finances.
This is really putting me off topic, unfortunately. Yeah, no, I'm talking about luxury cars. Yeah, this is it. I'm assuming that's you on Twitch. I agree with you, and it's sensible. We don't need all the bells and whistles. Just transport improvement to public transport infrastructure would be good too, though. Yeah, of course, absolutely. That would be something that we definitely all need.
pressure on the tax that everyone else pays. And so I am introducing a £2,000 cap on salary sacrifice into a pension, with contributions above that taxed in the same way as other employee pension contributions. That is a pragmatic step so that people, especially on low and middle incomes, can continue to use salary sacrifice for their pension without paying any more in tax than they do now, and to give individuals and employers time to adjust to these new arrangements. These changes will come into effect in 2029. The coalition government introduced 100% relief from capital gains tax on business sales made to employee ownership trusts, creating a route for gains to go completely untaxed when businesses are sold. I will reduce that relief to 50%, retaining a strong incentive for employee-owned companies. And as we work towards doubling the size of the cooperative economy, the Department for Business and Trade will launch a call for evidence on how we can better support co-ops to grow. Because of the changes that I have made to capital gains tax this year and last year, receipts are forecast to increase from £14 billion this year to £30 billion by 2030. To support our high streets, I am announcing a package of regulatory changes as called for by UK Hospitality and the British Retail Consortium. And I will support the Great British Pub through our new national licensing framework, encouraging councils to back our pubs and to back late-night venues with greater freedoms. For business rates, I will introduce permanently lower tax rates for over 750,000 retail, hospitality and leisure properties, the lowest rates since 1991, paid for through higher rates on properties worth more than £500,000, like the warehouses used by online giants. Alongside this, I will introduce a package of support worth over £4.3 billion over the next 3 years for a property of any size seeing a large increase in their bill. And to support a level playing field in retail, I will stop online firms from undercutting our high street businesses by ensuring customs duty applies on parcels of any value. I will reform our motoring taxes, exempting search and rescue vehicles from vehicle excise duty as called for by my honourable friends, the member for the Western Isles and for Whitehaven and Workington. And because all cars contribute to the wear and tear on our roads, I will ensure that drivers are taxed according to how much they drive and not just by the type of car they own, by introducing the electric vehicle excise duty on electric cars. This will be payable each year alongside vehicle excise duty at 3p per mile for electric cars and 1.5p for plug-in hybrids, helping us to double road maintenance funding in England over the course of this Parliament. And alongside this, I am providing support to boost our British car industry, increasing the threshold for the expensive car supplement on electric vehicles to £50,000, saving over 1 million motorists £440 a year. Providing £1.3 billion additional funding for the electric car grant, extending it to 2030 and taking total funding to £2 billion, as well as delaying changes to the employee car ownership scheme. In addition, we're investing a further £200 million to accelerate the rollout of EV charging, as well as 100% business rates relief for EV charge points for the next decade, with thanks to my honourable friend, the member for Camborne and Redruth, for his representations on this policy.
I definitely want to see more EV chargers. We definitely need to work more on that.
And I will improve competition in our taxi industry by ending ride-hailing companies' use of a discount scheme intended for coach tours, as called for by Steve McNamara, the General Secretary of the Licensed Taxi Drivers Association, legislating to restrict access so that everyone pays fairly and protecting £700 million of tax revenue each year. I am responding to our consultation on landfill tax, and listening to representations, particularly from our house building industry, I will not converge towards a single rate. But I will prevent the gap between the two rates from widening to balance the need to address tax avoidance in the current structure. I will today publish Ray McCann's report into the loan charge along with the government's response, setting out a new settlement opportunity that will finally allow people to finalise their position and draw a line under this long-standing issue. And I'd like to thank my honourable friend, the member for Milton Keynes Central, for her representations on this subject. I will continue with the planned uprating for tobacco duties that I set out last year and uprate alcohol duties by inflation, along with our plans to introduce a vaping products duty in 2026 and changes to the soft drinks industry levy announced by my right honourable friend, the Health Secretary, yesterday. And I'd like to thank the Exchequer Secretary to the Treasury for his work on all the tax measures in this budget. I will also reform gambling taxes in response to the rise in online gambling.
Good.
Remote gaming is associated with the highest levels of harm. And so I am increasing remote gaming duty from 21% to 40%. With duty on online betting increasing from 15% to 25%.
That's good.
I am making no change to the taxes on in-person gambling or on horse racing. And I am abolishing bingo duty entirely from April next year. Taken together, my reforms to gambling tax will raise over £1 billion per year by 2031. As a result of the tax reforms I have made today, I can confirm that I will not be increasing national insurance, the basic, higher or additional rates of income tax or VAT.
Okay.
And I have kept everyone's contribution as low as possible through reforms to make our tax system stronger, closing loopholes, ensuring that the wealthiest pay their share, and building a tax system that is fairer for the future as our economy changes. On the day I became Chancellor, I said that I would judge my time in office a success if I knew that ordinary children from working-class backgrounds were living more fulfilling lives. Their horizons expanded.
You're not going to hear every single detail in the budget, from her speech. That's always the case, Matty Von Erich. But that's why we'll cover some of those bits later on tonight on the 8 o'clock live stream.
Their potential realised. I joined the Labour Party. I came into politics because I believe that every child has equal worth and deserves an equal chance to achieve their promise. The biggest barrier to equal opportunity is child poverty. Because for every child that grows up in poverty, our society pays a triple cost. The first and the heaviest is to the child. Going to school hungry, waking up in a cold home, or in another B&B. While other children enjoy the advantages of parents with time to help with homework, the quiet space at home to work in, too many go without.
So what are you doing?
And there is also the cost of supporting a family in poverty, which ends up in the lap of overstretched councils, who can do no more than shunt them into temporary accommodation at huge cost to local taxpayers. Then there is the future cost, to our economy and to our society, of wasted talent and a welfare system that bears the cost of failure for decades to come. Young people with so much to contribute, but whose potential is suffocated early by limited life chances and missed opportunities, struggling to make their way in a society that did not look out for them. I don't intend to preside over a status quo that punishes children for the circumstances of their birth and demands that we all pay 3 times over for it. Since last July, we've rolled out free breakfast clubs in schools. We're expanding free school meals to 500,000 more kids, lifting 100,000 children out of poverty as we do it.
The food does not take kids out of poverty. It doesn't take them out of poverty. It doesn't do that. You're not putting money in their pockets. You're putting food in their bellies. You're not putting money in their bloody pockets.
We've passed the Renters' Rights Act and we've extended the childcare offer. And I'm proud of all of that. But it's not enough.
Hell no, it's not.
Because there is one policy that pushes kids into poverty more than any other. It was introduced by the party opposite.
Do it.
They said it would save money and that it would bring about behavioural change, disincentivising poorer families from having more children. Well, even on its own terms, it failed. The welfare bill has continued to rise, and there's been no difference in the size of families. But what it has done is to push hundreds of thousands of children into poverty since it was introduced. They said they were punishing parents' choices, but it's the kids who have paid the price.
That is true.
They've paid the price for the policies of a party which opted for cynical gimmicks over real savings in our welfare system.
Just announce it already. You better be talking about the bloody cap.
I understand that many families are finding times hard and that many kids have had to make difficult choices when it comes to having kids. And there are many reasons why people choose to have children and then find themselves in difficult times. The death of a partner, separation, ill health, a lost job. I don't believe that children should have to bear the brunt of that. And neither can I, in good conscience, leave in place the vile policy known as the rape clause, requiring women to prove if their child has been conceived non-consensually to receive support. I'm proud to be Britain's first female Chancellor of the Exchequer. I take the responsibilities that come with that seriously. I will not tolerate the grotesque indignity of women, of the rape clause, any longer. It is dehumanising, it is cruel, and I will remove it from the statute book. And so because I am tackling fraud and error in our welfare system, because I am cracking down on tax avoidance, because I am reforming gambling taxation...
So no removal of the two-child benefit cap. Because that's what it sounds like she was building it up to. So am I understanding the cap is remaining? Unless she's about to say it later on. Is there no removal of the two-child benefit cap, guys?
I can announce today, fully costed and fully funded, the removal of the two-child limit in full from...
Yes! There we go! There we go. About fucking time. About fucking time.
We on the...
Look, I want to make this absolutely clear. She should have done this in the fucking King's Speech as soon as they came into power. They should have... the fact that they dragged this on was an abomination. That policy was an abomination to millions of children up and down this country. Absolute fucking abomination. This will make a massive difference to child poverty. This really will. Look, again, I have my grievances. There's a lot of shit and a lot of waffle coming out of this woman and this government. But thank God, thank fuck they're getting rid of that two-child benefit cap. It's going to take a while before they do, but at least they've announced it. Thank fuck for that.
This side of that. It's amazing what people get so angry about, and we've seen their true colours today. The thing they get angry about is lifting children out of poverty.
Absolutely, absolutely. But my God, it took them so long to do this. It took them so long to do this, and you know, credit where credit is due. You know, because I was generally worried that they would never get rid of it. They would never introduce the policy. When they didn't introduce it at the last budget, I was fuming. I was fucking fuming. Because so many children, there are so many kids in poverty, guys. So many kids in poverty. And it has been proven statistically. So many experts, so many analyses, so many surveys, so many think tanks have said this. And yet, we have a mindset out there where people think that there's a mindset that the two-child benefit cap is good for the country. And I'm telling people, it's bloody not. It's not. The only reason she's doing it for disastrous poll ratings. I do think that does play a part, but I'm not gonna argue with that. But I really do feel that the removal of this cap is a massive lift of burden for for children. It's just going to make it really will help so many children in poverty. I really do. It's not going to fix everything. I know it's not going to fix everything, but it will make a massive dent in it. And I'll say, she's removed the cap. Yeah, she's removing the cap. Yeah, she's removing the cap.
Order.
This was the one saving thing I wanted to see at least out of this budget. I know a lot of it was going to be shit, but this was the one thing I wanted to get at least out of this budget.
Our constituents will want to hear the Chancellor.
I think our constituents have heard all they need to from the party opposites today.
And if she does back out of it, we'll hold her the fucking account just as we should.
We on this side of the House do not believe that the solution to a broken welfare system is to punish the most vulnerable. We are lifting 400...
Hold on a second. Didn't you try to cut disability benefits? Sorry, I'm not gonna take that from them when they tried to cut disability benefits. Well, they tried to change the system to make it more worse for people with disabilities. Okay, I made my voices very clear about that in the past. Okay, they backed out of it because they were getting too much stick here. I'm not gonna have that. Look. I'll give it a praise for the removal of the cap, but I'm not gonna have her talking about they're on the side here when they tried to take away, tried to make it more harder for people with disabilities to claim their entitlements. Not going to accept that from her.
150,000 children out of poverty with the end of the two-child limit.
Good.
And, Madam Deputy Speaker, combined with other actions we are taking, this Labour government is achieving the biggest reduction in child poverty over a parliament since records began.
I hope that polls do turn on this policy, but I'm still sceptical.
That is the difference that this Labour government is making. Madam Deputy Speaker, I know how worried families are about the cost of everything. Worried that their money won't stretch to the end of the month. Worried that price... I think if you've got a house that's worth £5 million a year, you can probably afford it. But you get more exercise about reducing child poverty than you do about the richest paying more.
They can't say shit. The Tories are the ones who put this on children. They can't say shit about this.
Under this government, wages have risen by more since we were elected than in 10 years under the last government. With lower interest rates already saving families £1,200 a year off a typical new mortgage, compared to when Liz Truss was Prime Minister. But I know that people still face pressure on their budgets day to day and week to week. And where there is more to do, where we can provide relief, we are doing it. Extending the bus fare cap, cracking down on rip-off price hikes, freezing prescription charges, and freezing rail fares for the first time in 30 years.
Very happy about that.
I am increasing the basic and new state pension by 4.8%, an increase of £440 per year for the basic state pension, and an increase of £575 per year for the new state pension, in line with our commitment to the triple lock. At the election, we promised a genuine living wage, and we are delivering it. At the budget last year, I increased the national minimum wage and the national living wage, and I am doing the same this year too. Accepting the recommendations of the Low Pay Commission in full, and increasing the minimum wage for 18 to 20-year-olds from £10 to £10.85 an hour, and increasing the living wage from £12.21 to £12.71 an hour.
That's good.
Under current plans,
But I've said it before and I've said it again. It doesn't matter how much you increase the minimum wage. As long as bills continue to rise, it's not going to fix the issue.
Temporary 5p cuts of fuel duty that was introduced during the pandemic will come to an end in April, and fuel duty will be uprated in line with inflation. But I know that the cost of travelling to and from work is still too expensive.
Yes, it is.
And so I am extending the 5p cut until September 2026. And because I know that changes in wholesale prices are not always passed on to motorists, I am bringing in new rules to mandate petrol forecourts to share real-time price rises through a new fuel finder, empowering drivers to find the cheapest fuel, calling out rip-offs and strengthening competition, saving the average household £40 a year.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Madam Deputy Speaker, one of the greatest drivers of the rising cost of living is the cost of energy prices. The cause of high energy bills must be tackled at source, and so we are investing in energy security, in nuclear and renewable energy, and in insulation through our Warm Homes Plan. But that's not enough when people are struggling with energy bills today. The Conservatives' Eco Scheme was presented as a plan to tackle fuel poverty. It costs households £1.7 billion a year on their bills. And for 97% of families in fuel poverty, the scheme, get this, has cost them more than it's saved. It is a failed scheme, and so I am scrapping it, along with taking other legacy costs off bills. And as a result, I can tell you today that for every family, we are keeping our promise to get energy bills down and cut the cost of living.
They're still going up, though.
With £150 cut from the average household bill from April next year.
Okay.
Money off bills and in the pockets of working people. That is my choice.
Okay.
Not to neglect Britain's energy security like the Tories did. Not to leave working families to bear the brunt of high prices like the Tories did, but to get energy costs down now and in the future. That is the Labour choice. And Madam Deputy Speaker, one more thing. Because of our action on bills and on prices, as a direct result of this budget, the Office for Budget Responsibility confirmed today that inflation is coming down faster and will be a full 0.4 percentage points lower next year. That's the benefit of a Labour government cutting the cost of living. Madam Deputy Speaker, this Labour government is changing our country. In the face of challenges on our productivity, I will grow our economy through stability, investment and reform. I've met my fiscal rules and built our economic resilience for the future. I have asked everyone to contribute, yes, for the security of our country and the brightness of its future. But I have kept that contribution as low as possible by reforming our tax system, making it fairer and stronger for the future. I have protected our NHS, maintaining public investment and driving efficiency in government spending. I've taken action on our broken welfare system, rooting out waste and lifting children out of poverty. And I have cut the cost of living, with money off bills and prices frozen, all while keeping every single one of our manifesto commitments. Those are my choices.
Grangemouth. Grangemouth, manifesto, pledge, Grangemouth.
Order.
Almost there, guys.
Mr. Rankin, Miss Morton, your voice carries right across the chamber. Right across the chamber. Try and take a breath every so often. Chancellor.
Those are my choices. Not austerity, not reckless borrowing, but cutting the debt, cutting waiting lists, and cutting the cost of living. Those are Labour choices, promised and delivered by this budget, promised and delivered by this Labour government. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
Okay, normally I would listen to the Shadow Chancellor and listen to responses, but I'm not going to on this occasion for this budget. Okay, So, there are some positives. There are some positives in this. But let me just say this, right? I think this was a very careful budget designed to try and maintain the status quo while not doing anything to rattle too much of the markets, trying not to rattle too much of people. I think it's also very important to stress that a lot of things that are in this budget were not mentioned by the Chancellor as well. And we will touch on them later on tonight's live stream at 8 o'clock. Now, things like the improvements in school libraries in every secondary school, the investment in playgrounds, more money to be invested in Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland is kind of good stuff. It's good. You might as well take it. It just says that. Doesn't mean that you have to like Labour, and I don't like Labour in any way, shape, or form as well. But it is something to take on board there. Do I think this is a... Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is, has this budget saved Keir Starmer and the Chancellor? I think this budget has done enough to keep them going until the local elections. I don't know if it's going to change the polls. I don't know if it's going to make people stand up and say, yeah, I'm definitely going to support this. The increase in minimum wage on paper sounds good. The freeze in the reduction in energy bills, that's a big thing. Obviously, the freeze in rail fares is also a big positive as well. There are some of those things will resonate a lot with people up and down the UK. Good thing you're not watching Kemi. She was disgraceful. I'm not surprised. Increased minimum wage is offset by the stealth tax of holding personal allowance at its current rate. And this is what I meant. Yeah, there's always something else there. There's always something else there that we don't know about there. But the big positive for me is obviously the removal of the 2-child benefit cap. It had been rumoured, it had been circling, it's been swirling for a while, and I'm glad it's finally gone. Was this budget better than last year's one? I don't know. If I had to make a distinction, I don't know if it was better than last year's one, because last year obviously they did the tax increases, which really upset a lot of people. But she hasn't increased income tax. She hasn't increased VAT, from what she said there. And again, I'm going to have to let the economists and the analysis people go dive through the details over the next several hours, and then I will have a look and see what they are saying, because that's the best way to do it. And look, I don't want to say this has been I'm not going to say it's a good budget. I'm not going to say it's a bad budget. I'm going to say it's a budget that got her. I would say it's a budget that got her through. Got her through a difficult period. I don't think it's gonna turn Labour voters straight on to them. It's going to bring back Labour voters. I don't know that. There may be some increase. I don't know about that. But I think we're going to have to wait and see more over time on this. Is what I feel. I hit record on Bacchanal. I'll watch her in a mo. She seems quite nasty. Seen some attacks already lifting on the 2-child benefit cap. There will be attacks on the 2-child benefit cap, because you have to also remember that the 2-child benefit cap is not popular with the population. But what they don't realise is that it actually brings people out of poverty. They see it as, and you'll get this from the likes of Reform and the right wing. They will call it an attack. They will basically say they will basically claim they're enabling the welfare state. They're enriching the welfare state by doing this, is what they will claim. They'll claim that they're enabling the welfare state, and that people can then have 10, 20 children now and get away with it. And and this is how they did it before. They'll get these shows where they'll get 20 families with 20 kids and whatnot, and basically say, look, they're going to claim all this money off all these kids. And we're only talking about the tiniest and minorities of examples here. And we also have correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have a birth rate problem as well. That will help with the birth rate problem as well as on the situation as well. But on the situation. DJ Miami said, to be honest, this budget is not as bad as I thought it would be. I don't know if she's done enough to save her job. Yeah. I think we need to see more of the details over the next several hours. So I'm going to come. So guys, I am going to get off for 6 hours because that was stressful, of course. I am sorry that I had to time out. Cymru there. I'm sorry I had to time you out because, on the luxury car thing, because I really do think, that it wasn't the end of the world. I really didn't think it was the end of the world. Like if they were saying that that they're not going to be getting in cars anymore, obviously my position would be different. And people know exactly how I feel about when they tried to go after the disability people when it came to changing the welfare state on them. Everyone knows my position on that. But we're talking about luxury cars, and that was the position that I was making. Is that they don't need luxury. You don't need luxury cars. Is the point I'm making. And I've said it 100 times, but I'll say it one more time. The most important thing is, as long as they're able to get in a car, they're able to get to where they need to go to be able to get out of it. Those are the main things. If they can't do that, then there's a problem. Yeah, if they can't do that, there is a problem here, rightfully so. That's the thing there. As long as they are able to get in and out of the car, that is the main thing. Yeah. And yes, some luxury cars do that, but they shouldn't be. Only certain luxury cars have been banned there. The detail on it is on there as well. But is it something that the Chancellor should be looking at when there are other places? Yeah, there is other things, but I'm not looking at it as a case of them cutting the legs off all disability people like what they were trying to do last time there. So I really want to make that point clear. Like, I'm not against disabled people. You guys know that. If those of you have been following me, you know exactly my position on it. Okay, but I'm looking at things from. I always say that I try to look at things by putting my feet in the shoes of other people. Sometimes it makes sense to me. Most times it doesn't make sense to me, and we can agree to disagree. But it's really important that it's really important that the language that we don't just jump to conclusions on a lot of things as well, on it as well. So guys, I'm going to stop here. Thank you guys for coming along. Thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you guys for everyone who gave super chats as well for this live stream. I'm not going to timestamp this live stream. Don't ask me to do that. I'm not going to do that because that's going to be impossible. But I'm going to go and rest. I do have some other work to do between now and 8 o'clock. Join me for Watch Along, where we'll be looking at reaction to the budget, and we'll have a look at a little bit more details of what analysis and experts have gathered between now and 8 o'clock, guys. So thank you again all for coming along on both Twitch and YouTube. On your way out, if you can, hit the like button, share it across social media, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Do follow on twitch.tv as well. Hit the bell notification icon on both platforms, and do check out Rumble and Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms as well. So thank you all finally so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.